You could say that Hugh Grant is a staple in the United Kingdom, up there with the Queen and tea and biscuits. Due to being known for essentially making the bumbling Brit stereotype popular, most people know Hugh Grant for films such as Love Actually, About a Boy, Bridget Jones's Diary, and Notting Hill. Considering that most of his filmography is romantic comedies, when I found out that he was going to be the main villain in a horror movie, I was unsure, but boy was I wrong. The casting of Hugh Grant in Heretic is amazing. I could not believe I was actually getting creeped out over the guy who danced in the halls of 10 Downing Street in Love Actually. One of the biggest strengths that Heretic has is its casting. Everyone just seems to fit into place and works well off each other. You have the two Mormon missionaries, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, played by Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, Elder Kennedy, who is played by Topher Grace, and of course, Hugh Grant's Mr. Reed. With such a small cast, you generally get to know the characters and watch them develop, or in Mr. Reed's case, go more insane. And it works really well. It is just so enjoyable just to watch them interact with each other, talking about the philosophy of religion, iterations, and control. And I do apologise, I'm getting ahead of myself, I do apologise. I just really enjoyed this film. Heretic was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and was distributed by A24. And I do have to say that A24 are just hitting the ball out of the park. It just feels now that most film stars want to try and get an A24 movie under their belt. And I don't blame them. The film had a budget of just under $10 million and grossed $59.2 million and was nominated for many awards. The film was shot in chronological order and took about a month to film in Vancouver. Scott and Brian made sure to do their research for the film and spoke to many Mormon groups to make sure that the missionaries were as genuine as possible. Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East both grew up in Mormon households, so they could also provide feedback and advice. The film received praise from a number of former Latter-day Saints for the portrayal of the missionaries. However, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints did condemn the film's portrayal of the violence against women and went on to post an article about missionary safety. The film goes through many themes, the main overarching theme being religion, belief and power. We have discussions of iterations through the years with religions to even questioning belief and non-belief, all the way up to who is the true God. It is a roller coaster of a ride as Hugh Grant's Mr. Reed guides us through, and it is really fun to watch. As always, before we go through the film, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not watched Heretic, please go and watch and then come back to the review. And with that warning out the way, let's talk about Heretic. The film opens up with us meeting our main protagonists, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton. Sister Barnes is more confident, while Sister Paxton seems more timid. Barnes during the film seems to keep the control, which does backfire for her later in the film. Whereas with Sister Paxton, she seems to be stronger in her faith and more quiet. However, throughout the film, she does develop and grow, and in the end becomes a stronger person. The contrast between the girls is very well done. We see that the girls are talking about intercourse and condoms. They mention how the Magnum condoms are the same size as regular condoms, even though one is advertised as bigger. Paxton talks about what we believe because of marketing, which in a way is an overall theme of the film. The marketing and commercialization of everything. If the marketing is good, you will believe in it, even in religion. Now, of course, this isn't me saying that all religions are fake and you shouldn't believe in it. Believe in what you want, even the flying spaghetti monster if you want to. But you could say that everything does need to be advertised, even faith. As the girls walk to Mr. Reed's house, they talk about how people think they're weird. This is due to shows like the Book of Mormon. We even had girls make fun of them asking about their underwear. This could be interpreted as a struggling modern society with religion, but also the treatment of some of the missionaries. Chloe East does a really good performance and does make you feel sorry for her, especially later in the film. We finally meet Mr. Reed, as this is where we begin to see the strength of Hugh Grant. He comes across as still the bumbling Brit stereotype, But then you look at his eyes, and his eyes have a sinister look to them. The cinematography also really helps with showing the evil side of Mr. Reed. Chung Chung-hoon had done a really great job. I love the shot with the camera looking up at the light as the moth is bumping into it. It gives a sense of unease and tension. The colour scheme of the browns and the more neutral colours also work well. Looking at the colour palette and also the set dressing makes you feel like you stepped back into the 1970s, like you've entered your grandparents' home. But of course, this is far from that. The moth on the light also is a little homage to the Silence of the Lambs with Buffalo Bill. It is also future symbolism in Heretic, especially near the end. We'll talk about that later. Mr. Reed offers a pie that his wife has made. The girls have asked for his wife to be in the room with them due to their beliefs and also safety. We also find out that there is metal in the walls. This is important as it blocks their phone signals. As the three sit down to begin their conversation, Mr. Reed starts to ask some hard questions regarding religion. This makes the girls feel uncomfortable. He is also trying to work out the girls. You can tell that he seems to be getting closer to Paxton, as Paxton is more timid and really wanting to convert Mr. Reed, whereas Barnes' confidence does not seem to be something that Mr. Reed likes. It could be seen that Barnes could be a threat. When Barnes is asking about the pie, the camera cuts back to Mr. Reed looking annoyed, but also in a way of, you'll be more of a challenge. We come to learn that Barnes' father has passed away. Reed asks if her father has came back at all and sent any messages. Paxton mentions that when she dies, she wants to come back as a butterfly that flies on the hand. This will be relevant later. We then hear a ticking and the power goes off, and Mr. Reed says it's time for pie and enlightenment. The game has now begun. Reed then starts asking about the rules of Mormonism, and as the scene plays, the tension builds up and up. You start to feel the unease in the girls, but also the calm insanity of Mr. Reed. It is so well done. There is also a part that I like where they talk about fast food, and they mention Wendy's, and Mr. Reed says,
"Do you know I've never had a Wendy?"
I like this due to what we find at the end of the film. We also find out that in Mr. Reed's words, he has found the one true religion. Again, this is important in the end. As Mr. Reed leaves the room to get his wife, Barnes notices that the candle gives off a blueberry pie smell. This is what they've been smelling since they've been in the house. I love the close-up of Barnes' face as she comes to realise, and the music builds up and adds a lovely sense of tension. Mr. Reed asks the girls to come through to his study, but Barnes says that they have a phone call from the parish. Of course, this is not true, but also due to the metal in the walls, there is no phone signal. So Mr. Reed knows they are lying. The girls realise that they can't escape as there is no door handle and that the door won't open due to it being on a timed lock. As the girls go to the study of Mr. Reed, they end up seeing a statue in the hallway, and for some reason, that was way more scary than it actually had to be. It actually made my wife jump when she saw it. Again, it's beautiful lighting and amazing cinematography. We are now in the study of Mr. Reed, and Mr. Reed begins talking about how all religions are just iterations of each other. I love how he uses the example of Monopoly and the Landlord's Game, but also The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies and Creep by Radiohead. In a way, he does make a good point that essentially all religions all have the same themes and even parts of the same people, just adapted in different ways, which is also a case with life itself. In a way, there is no original idea anymore in the world, but then again, I would argue that nowadays it is impossible to be original. Most songs nowadays use the same chords, and of course movies, especially horror movies, have essentially the same tropes. Look at slasher movies. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. I will say, it is so awesome hearing the Hollies in a horror movie. I love it. Oh, I just love this song. So the girls ask to leave, but now Mr. Reed's game has officially begun. He gives the girls a choice of two doors. One door if they believe in God, and the other door if they don't believe in God. What you come to find out is that both doors end up leading to the same place. This could be a metaphor on the idea of regardless if you have faith or not, you will always end up in the same place in the end. I have to say, this entire section of the movie is my favourite. I love every part of it. The music, the acting, the heightened tension. The fact that Hugh Grant improvised a cat meow when talking about his favourite Monopoly piece.
Avatars, everyone has their favourite. I shall not tell you mine. Meow.
It kept me hooked. This is a movie that does not have a lot of visual horror. It's more within the words and the tension. And it really hits the nail on the head by doing this. Oh, and it also has Bob Ross Monopoly. Yes! But also, Hugh Grant doing a Jar Jar Binks impression. It's amazing, but also scary is the thought that Jar Jar Binks could become a religious figure. During the monologue, Mr. Reed asks the girls for the Book of Mormon. By the end of the monologue, he throws the book on the floor. Barnes picks it up and notices a letter opener which she collects. This will be important later. The girls choose the belief door, which we have this lovely shot of Mr. Reed looking down on the girls as he's shutting the door behind them. It reminds me a little bit of the movie Creep, which is funny considering the song is Creep is mentioned. Anyway, the girls are now in the basement and are looking for a way to escape. Barnes accidentally breaks a wooden plank with 3 nails. In fact, this can be seen as a symbol of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Suddenly, an old decrepit woman enters the room and Barnes hands Paxton the letter opener. They watch as the old woman sits down and eats a pie. It turns out that the pie is poisoned and the woman dies. Reed is sat in his office and we see a nice model of the house. This is the second A24 movie to use miniatures, the first one being Hereditary. Mr. Reed previously mentions that he knows the one true God and also explains to the girls that they are going to witness a resurrection as the lady is a prophet of God. With the woman now dead, the doorbell rings and Elder Kennedy asks Mr. Reed if they have seen the girls. Of course, the girls scream, but they are not heard. The girls manage to pull a rug and get some matches that were knocked on the floor earlier on. Their plan is to burn down the building so they can escape. When they head back to where the dead woman is, Paxton realises that the body is now moved. As they try and light the matches, the woman is behind them and describes the afterlife to the girls, but also says that it's all not real. This part was very well done, especially with the woman behind Paxton. As mentioned before, the tension building is really done well. Reed comes downstairs and escorts the prophet away, and then wishes to make notes on what Barnes and Paxton saw. Reed also says that he can show them God if they are willing to die. Barnes starts to reject what she saw and says it's nothing more than a magic trick and hallucinations from near-death experiences. Barnes then gives Paxton a signal to attack Reed, but Reed manages to slash Barnes' throat. This scene really caught me off guard. It does feel a lot like Paxton is going to die in the film and Barnes is going to survive, especially due to the start of the film when Paxton says that she wishes to come back as a butterfly. Of course, Reed says that Barnes will come back from the dead. Of course, this is not happening. Reed then decides to cut open Barnes' arm and pulls out a contraceptive implant, saying that this is proof that Barnes is not real and that the world is a simulation. We are now seeing Reed essentially heading off into the deep end and improvising. Paxton then comes to the realization that the resurrection was staged and that the night is not sticking to the script. Paxton believes that the woman died and that her body was moved and replaced by another woman. She then read off the scripted prophecy except the last part where she said it was not real. I love the development of Paxton as a character. From a girl at the start who just wants to get her first convert and try to stay positive, to a woman who is figuring it out and standing up to Mr. Reed. I will say that all the main characters are very well written. They do keep you hooked. Paxton finds a door on the floor and then finds a cellar. Mr. Reed advises to not go into the cellar unless Paxton is willing to see the one true religion. Of course, Paxton goes down and sees the body of the woman. Her theory is correct. It is all fake. Reed shuts the cellar door. Now it is the big reveal time. As Paxton goes through a series of chambers, she comes to a door that is locked with a bike lock. A bike lock that she has the key for. As she goes into the room, she finds the room full of women in cages, all malnourished and in the same rows as the woman who ate the pie. We then find out about the one true religion. Reed comes in and explains that the one true religion is a desire to control others and that Paxton is only there because Reed wanted it to be so. And in a way, Reed is correct, but this isn't just for religion, but all different types of things. You could look at religion, media, political parties, cults, TV shows, and even films. Everything does have a source of control, and what's even more crazy is that we let that control happen. Hell, if you think about it, me saying this right now is me agreeing to what the message of the film is saying. This film is essentially controlled and predicted that I would agree with it. We are now in the final part of the film. As Mr. Reed gets close, Paxton stabs him and runs away. Paxton ends up back in the study and then goes through the other door, realising that she's ended up back in the basement. We then get this really lovely shot of the camera being upside down. Mr. Reed then sneaks up on Paxton and stabs her. As both Mr. Reed and Paxton bleed out in the basement, Mr. Reed asks Paxton to pray for them. This could be seen as one last sick joke from Reed, or it could be the case that Reed is hoping for that one last religious moment in case there is a God. As Paxton prays, Mr. Reed goes to finish her off when suddenly Barnes hits him with the wooden plank, killing Mr. Reed in the process, after which Barnes succumbs to her wounds and dies. We end the movie with Paxton escaping out the window. As she is escaping, a butterfly lands on her hand, just like how she said she wanted to be reincarnated. The butterfly then vanishes and Paxton is left alone in the snowy woods. As the credits roll, we hear Sophie Thatcher singing Knocking on Heaven's Door, set to the tune of Fade Into You by the band Mazzy Star. Again, another iteration. I do like the ending of the film and the symbolism of the butterfly. It could be taken in different ways. Number one, it could be seen as a literal interpretation that the butterfly is Barnes saying goodbye, as per how Paxton wanted to be resurrected. Number two, it could also be seen as rebirth. We see moths in the home at the start of the film, and it could be taken that by the end, Paxton has bloomed into a butterfly, essentially battling her belief and coming out more beautiful with what she now believes. Or number three, it could also be that Paxton is now having a near-death experience and is hallucinating the butterfly. Essentially, the butterfly is herself, and that she is close to death. I do like the somewhat open ending to Heretic. I do like how we don't fully know what happened to Paxton in the end. And that's it. If you've not watched Heretic, please do. It is such a good watch for just under 2 hours, but it feels so much faster. It has good pace, great lighting, great cinematography, amazing sound and soundtrack, and amazing acting from all the cast, especially Hugh Grant, who has gone from being typecasted in romantic comedies to now essentially spreading his wings into other genres. Like a butterfly. This could be one of my favourite A24 movies. In fact, that could be a top 10 video idea. Anyway, this has been my review of Heretic. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies is an awesome song. Oh, and Hugh Grant makes a damn good villain. See you next time. Hi everyone, thank you very much for watching my video on Heretic. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and turn on all notifications. Make sure you tune in next week as we've got an Easter special review for the Beaster Bunny. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Well, anyway, we'll see you next time. Stay safe. Thanks for watching.